Hey everyone, my name is David Rao, and I'm the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. You can also find my ideas on Facebook, on Instagram, on a variety of places when you search for my name, David Rao, or Make Moments Matter. I'm excited this week to be talking a little bit about vocal exploration with my youngest students, 3 ways that I'm doing it in one lesson. With a puppet, with a song, with a book. I'm going to share all the ways that I do that, and you can decide whether you want to do that just like me, where it's like all in the same lesson, or if you want to spread it out or just take these ideas and apply them to your own school. There are a lot of things that you can do if you want. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. Really quick, if you hear me talk about a book, a resource, something you're interested in this video, or if you're listening as a podcast, you can always find the links to these or the links to all the things that I talk about on the links page, which is on my blog, makemomentsmatter.org, under the video tab. Or if you're watching or listening, there's probably a link at the bottom of whatever caption it is for this video. You can go straight there. Okay, last weekend, I just got back yesterday from time in Winnipeg, Manitoba. It was so much fun sharing with the Manitoba music educators and the Manitoba Orff chapter. It was great to go up and visit my friends up north and make new friends and share some ideas up there. It was a super great time. Thanks for all the people who came out. The next time, if you want to see me in person for a workshop, I'll be at the American Orff Schulwerk Association National Conference, which is in Des Moines, Iowa. It's coming up in just a few weeks. So if you are an AOSA member, you're probably already planning on coming. If not, you should become an AOSA member and you should plan to come. It's going to be an amazing conference. I'm sharing a session called Critical Thinking in Orff Schulwerk, and that's going to be, I think I present on Thursday morning. So if you're around and you want to come see it, that's where you can see it. Okay, one more thing. If you say, okay, all this like live PD sounds great, but I can't make it, or I live in, I don't know, Tasmania, whatever, and you want to get PD where you can have it at your own time, I started a Patreon page a couple weeks ago. There's a link to that on the links page. I keep adding new stuff, adding new content every week. Lesson plans, bulletin boards, videos, explanations. All the videos that I share have a lesson plan attached, a physical one attached to them, so you can take and copy and use what you want. So there's content there if you want it. So if you're like, hey, I really want to have this PD now, but I can't come to Manitoba, totally get it. But if you want, there's a way to get that too. Okay, let's talk about vocal exploration, 3 different ways. So with my kindergartners, I like to spend a lot of time exploring, trying new things. So we're singing a lot, we're moving a lot, we're playing around a lot. And one of the things that we do once we're a few weeks in, and even right away, but one of the things we do right away, especially when kids have like bought in that like, yes, it's going to be silly and it's going to be fun and we're okay and it's safe to do that, is I like to do a lot more with vocal exploration. I talked a couple weeks ago about how I use those little finger puppets, those little eyeballs that sit on your fingers to do vocal exploration with kinders. And this is sort of a continuation of some of the things that I'm doing with that. That sort of just using your voice, using your head voice, figuring out what your voice can sound like in different ways and get kids like thinking in different ways. So with this one, I tell them, I start with a puppet and I say, okay, I have 2 dogs at home. And I show them pictures of my dogs, Hazel and Lucy. And then I say, I've got another dog right here, and his name is Milo. And Milo's my puppet basset hound, which is from my amazing friend Karen. I call him Milo because Milo was the name of my very first basset hound. So this is Milo, the basset hound. But I show them pictures of my actual basset hound, and they're like, oh, and then I go, and I know their ears are kind of big, and they're like, and their noses are kind of big, and their paws are very big, but they are short. And then they have to see more pictures, and so it's just fun. But I tell them, I learned this song from my dogs. And they're like, what? And so I say, yes, I learned this from my dogs. And this song goes like this, because the dogs sit inside. Most of the day, they just sleep. They just rest, right? And they sleep and their ears flop around and they roll around and they need belly rubs and, whatever. But then sometimes when they go out, they just, pitter patter out until they see something they want to chase. And this is the song. When I said, no, 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 you don't get a chase, they said, oh, please. And they told me this song. It goes, let us chase the squirrel up the hickory, down the hickory. Let us chase the squirrel up the hickory tree. And I said, you silly dogs, you're very short. You can't actually chase the squirrel up the tree and down the tree. You can't climb the tree. And they said, I know, but what if we went and we sat underneath the tree and we ran and followed it, and then we chased it until it had to run up the tree. And then it'd be fun to sit and watch it like this. Wouldn't that be fun? I don't know. I don't think that we should terrorize the squirrels in our neighborhood. Wrong. I think we should. Okay, but anyway, so the basset hounds tell me that they should get to terrorize the squirrel. Did you hear in that song I said, up the hickory, down the hickory, let us chase the squirrel up the hickory tree? Or you might say hickory tree. I don't know, depending on where you're from. You might say hickory instead of hickory. It's up to you. But then I say, but there are other trees around my yard and around the park that we go to. Can you think of another kind of a tree? And this is very difficult for kindergartners because they have a very, 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 very small knowledge about vocabulary in general, but then especially about different kinds of trees. But the one they know is the one we sang about a couple weeks ago, which is the apple tree. So they say the apple tree. I was like, oh, great. Let me sing that one. Or let the basset sing it. Let us chase the squirrel up the apple, down the apple. Let us chase the squirrel up the apple tree. And they said up the apple, down the apple, because sometimes when you have like an apple tree, you just say, hey, that tree over there, the apple, can you? And sometimes when we call trees by their names, we say, oh, that pine over there, it's really a pine tree. We can say that pine. And so that's why when we say up the hickory, we mean like up the hickory tree. Anyway, so we sing through the song. I have found that my kinders for years have never picked up on this song very quickly. But that's not like the main goal for me for the song, is for them to like sing it with like fluency. So I don't mind so much, but I feel like they have a hard time picking it up. Do you feel the same way? Is it also tricky for your kids? I don't know. You tell me. But what I have them do is supply different kinds of trees or what they think might grow on trees. And then this year today I had a couple of really great kids. One kid was like an orange tree. Yeah, so we sing that up the orange, down the orange. And then what else could we do? And they're like a lemon tree. Yep, great. And then we talk about, then I always have a normal. I'm like, what's a normal tree? And they're like, well, the normal one. And I was like, every tree has a name. There's a kind of tree. They're like, no, like the normal one. And so today I was like, so if I said, oh, hello, Leon, hello, Mavis, hello, Destiny, hello, Normal. And they're like, my name isn't Normal. I was like, right, you've got a name. But kids don't know that, like, oh, that's not just a tree, it's a willow. That's not just a tree, it's an oak tree. That's not just a tree, it's a, whatever. They don't know that. So going through and giving them some of the vocabulary is kind of tricky, but I let them come up with, if they have the name of trees, great. And I let them switch out the name, I sing it. And their job is to have they get to pretend like they've got the squirrel and they go up the hickory, down the tree. But like I said, they don't pick up on the singing all that quickly. I don't know, maybe it's just the song. But anyway, I tell them there is one way that my bassets don't really usually sing much, but they do one thing very well. Do you want to show them? And it's a good thing my actual dogs are not around, because if I were to do that around them, they get all excited. Anyway, so we talk about howling and the howling, and then I let the kids try to howl, and I go, what if you howl like this? And so they try it, and they go, well, what about? And so we do some basic vocal exploration, and I let the basset puppet kind of guide that. And I say, oh no. But when I'm ready to move on, I go, oh no, I'm going to cover my basset's eyes. I'm going to actually put Milo away because I see something over there and I don't want him to notice. And then I pull out this little squirrel puppet and I say, it's a squirrel. If they knew that this squirrel was here, they would want to chase this squirrel. Oh my gosh, where? Up and down the tree, all over. They want to chase it around and howl at it, of course. But this squirrel is like mostly like tail. It's like a baby squirrel. It's so small, but its tail is so big. And it's just a finger puppet squirrel with like a ginormous bushy tail. Anyway, if the squirrel were going up, we could go, and then I do like vocal exploration sounds that start with like a dead, like do, just like another way, instead of the howling sound, just like a so it's more like more tongue action to get them trying a different way. And then also it's like a da 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 instead of an ooh, it's an so a different sort of vowel, different way to explore. As if the squirrel is like moving and like pitter pattering around. And then I say, okay, I don't have a bunch of squirrels for each one of you. That'd be crazy if I had 18 squirrels in my room. Milo would never calm down. He'd be so excited all the time. But I do have something that's puffy like that squirrel. And it's maybe even a little bit more fun than the squirrel. And I pull out these little, I don't know what exactly they are. I tracked them down online and they were called like craft puffs or craft palms. These ones have been around a long time. They are well loved, but the ones I found online looked very fluffy. So if you go to the links page, you can find like nice new versions. But I have them in all different colors. Let's see, green, orange, purple, yellow, red, dark blue. That's what I've got in this box. And these were here when I got to this school. So what I do is I say, I don't have a squirrel for each one, but this is sort of puffy like the squirrel's tail. So I'm going to give one to each one of you, and then they do the do. And they had been doing it before without the squirrel puppet in their hand, but this they get way more excited and interested in. And so we do a couple of the things the squirrel did, and then I go, wait, what would happen if we took the squirrel and we poked it? What sound would it make? And I poke it and I let them come up with it. I don't supply them a sound. I like let them. And sometimes they're like meep, and sometimes they're like boop, and sometimes they're like, So then I poke it like more violently. I'm like, like I really give it a squish. And then sometimes I go like a ginger, like boop, like how if we're gonna do it a different way. What if I go like, what if I go like, and then I maybe explore some things for them, and then they get to mimic them. And then I say, okay, you poke it. I'm going to listen to what you do. So I let them poke and they hear the sounds they make. I echo them. Oh my gosh, they love that. So they've been echoing me. I echo them. We try that. I go, so we've been poking. What if we went like this? And patted it like on its head. What if we go like this and like squished it? What if we held it between our hands and clapped our hands? What if we like rolled it around? So we try a lot of different things. Like what can we do? What if we like try and pull it apart? What if we like set it on our head? Like what sounds would this puff make? And so I try lots of different stuff. Kids explore different things. And it's hilarious. It's so much fun. It's hilarious to see how they do. And then I actually let them we move around the room. And then we move high, we move low, we change. And so it's like how they make sound depending on that. And so we might do like an we do different vowels. We try different things. Just so by the time we're done, we've tried different sort of consonant sounds, different sort of vowel sounds. I asked my reading teacher, hey, what are some particularly tricky sounds? Or I listen to some kids and ooh, they're having a hard time with a or a yet or whatever. And so we just try different stuff. But again, just with the guys that vocal exploration. So they do all of that. We eventually, that takes, I don't know, a couple minutes, but it's so much fun. They love the little puffs. And they come back in other lessons, but they love little puffs because they do kind of look like squirrels. And we could also go back in the next lesson and sing "Let Us Chase the Squirrel," and we get to move the squirrel up and move the squirrel down with every verse. And then I could keep singing, and they could move it up, and they could move it down. They could even do the sounds as it goes up. So as I'm singing, "Let us chase the squirrel up the hickory," they go if we wanted them to do that, just to make that connection again between the movement going up, going down, and your voice going up, going down. And again, I'm trying to get them up in their head voices and to be experiencing things up higher and feeling it and exploring with those glides and slides and different sounds and consonants and all of that. We're just exploring and trying. Then I say, great, I have a book for you. And this is one where I usually put it under my document camera, which I don't have a document camera. I just have an iPad that I will mirror to my projector so that they can see whatever my iPad sees, which points down straight at the book. They see it on the projector. And I show them this book, which I know I've shared before on a Musical Mondays video, but I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. It's called C'est Zoop. It's by Hervé Tullet, HervéTullet. That's the author. He has a lot of really cool books. This is just one of many. But I love it because it is perfect for vocal exploration. And just like good teaching, it starts with one small idea and gets more and more and more layers. So by the time you're done, there's this like gradual release into exploration, but it starts with something very simple, which I love because that's like good teaching. Start with something simple and layer and adapt and change. And anyway, so it's going to be hard to describe this for people on the podcast, but for those of you who are watching, it's going to be really easy. So it starts out with one blue dot on a page. It says, "Hi, are you really sure you want to play?" I don't always read what's on the bottom. I just like interpret it and do it on my own. And I feel like I get a better response out of kids because again, my kinders are probably not reading along this weird small script and as quickly with the words. So I just like say what I want to. So then it says, put your finger on the dot and say, oh, but I'm the one reading. You all are just sitting watching. So I guess when I touch the dot, you have to say, oh. And sometimes I'll touch and they will go like, oh. I'm like, no. You say, oh, while I'm touching. And so I press and hold, oh, 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 oh. So like I'll press hold short, I'll press long, I'll do small bursts, just so they get really attuned to when I press the dot, they have to go, oh. And then sometimes I'll like circle around the dot but not press it. So they're really watching. It really becomes like a reaction training. Are they doing it right? Then on the next page, there's a small blue dot and a big blue dot. So you've got, oh, 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 you know, so there's like big sound, small sound. You could do volume or you could do like duration. But I would probably do volume. I'd probably do piano and forte here. Then there's a whole page with a pattern. So it's like small, small, medium, small, small, medium. So they go, oh, 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 oh. And typically I'll have kindergartners, even though it's like a medium sort of, oh, they'll get really big. Oh, 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 you know, they'll do something like that. And then I go back and I go, wait. We had very big on this previous page. Are these dots even close to that? No. So now we're comparing, contrasting. We're looking at what is it really, how close are the, you know, like what patterns are you seeing? Compare this to what we did before. We're building off of what we did. Then we have a small dot, medium, large, and extra large dot in, you know, in succession, going from small to large. We do that, oh, you know, and then on the next page, I turn and I go, oh, wait, the author made a mistake. Maybe the printer made a mistake. It's the same thing. It is small and large dots, but instead of going from small to large, it goes from large to small. So kids have to realize that, recognize that, and then make a change. Then it says counting in O's. So there's like a stack of, well, there's one blue dot, there's a stack of 2, stack of 3, stack of 4, stack of 5 that you can do. This one I usually skip this page. It's long lines with dots that are spaced out a long ways, spaced out not as much, spaced out hardly at all, spaced out like not much at all. And so you could do this as far as like, oh, and then just becomes really tricky. If you're doing it with an older grade, like second grade, they can really handle this. For kindergarten, they don't. This doesn't really have as much effect, so I usually skip it. Then there's like a huge circle made up of tiny little O's. So I say, okay, with this one we go oh, or we'd go oh, because it's really it is a big dot, but it's like made up of tiny little dots. And so we try and pop all the little O's. Then there's one that's super, super long. And this one I say we got to take a big breath because it can go a long time. And so it goes a really long time and kind of peters out at the end. That's super fun. This one looks like blue dots jumping off a diving board. That's super fun to go. And then you can go high and low. Oh, you know. And that even makes a little splash on the page. So like little tiny O's if you want. Then the little blue dots get tails where it looks like fish. So then we can pop the little bubbles coming out of the fish's mouths. That's super fun. And they're, again, small, large, so you can play around with that with the kids if you want. Then it's a blue dot, but it looks like it's shivering because it looks like there's snow falling on the page. So now we got to go like, oh, whenever we touch it because it's cold. So this is cool too because you're taking that idea and you're just rewrapping it and thinking about it in a different way. Then the O it's a big sad O. It's crying. You can see the tears coming out. So and with kids, I'm like, it's still an O, isn't it? Then you get a red dot, a blue dot, and a red dot. So there's O, and then I always said ah, but I never get away with that because kids at my school, when they learn A, the letter A, it starts as ah. So my kids were always going ah, and I was like ah, and they're like ah. So I just go with it and I do ah now. So oh ah. So when you press the red, they'll do ah, and when you press the blue, oh. So I'll go back and forth, and again, reaction training. Which one am I pressing? Then this is cool because there's like a little conversation bubble, so it looks like the blue is talking to the red just in dots. So we even did this a couple weeks ago with our little finger puppets, so they can talk back and forth. So they have a conversation. Then they look like robots. So instead of it's which again is amazing because it's that same idea of the sound, follow the sound, reaction training, but you're just changing sort of the context a little bit of how it sounds. Then, I love this page. It looks like a bunch of laughing smiley faces. So it'd be like if we tickled the O, you go, oh, so it's like tickling and making O's and as laugh. I skipped this page because it looks like two staves, like a 5-line staff going up and down, and I don't get much kid reaction in like meaningful ways, so I usually skip it. With older grades, if I bring this back, I'll do that and talk about high and low on the staff. But with younger kids, it just takes like forever. The next page, and I don't get the result I want. The next page looks kind of like a roller coaster, so like so it's like up and down hills, which is amazing because this looks so much like the vocal exploration stuff we do later on in the year. Then they look like dogs that are arguing. So we get to change the sound again. Then it looks like they're fighting, where there's like smudges and swooshes, like and it looks like they're even blending together a little bit. They're covering each other over. This page they put in, and it's like the blue dot and the red dot collide and they make purple because they're like making up, they're becoming friends. I guess they're like hugging, but I don't know how to do vocal exploration for that. Like I don't know. So I just we gloss over this page and move on. Then we add a yellow dot, which I wish would be like or or something, but it's wahoo. That's what the book says. So whenever you see a yellow dot, you have a wahoo, which the kids think is kind of funny, but the other ones are so much easier to work with. Oh, and at and wahoo, not so easy. But anyway, then there's a pattern with it where you got to go around, go down and through, and then they get to do like actual, like what we'll do later in the year, vocal exploration lines falling up and down. So you've got wow, oh, and so we follow them up the page, which is kind of cool. Then they get even more where they'll go together. So I'll say, you choose oh, ah, or wahoo, and we're going to go around and go up the page and around the page, and whatever we go. If we go high, our voice goes high. If we go low, our voice goes low. We get to explore that. Then they look kind of like cars. So you'll have like wah, ahoo, oh, like those are kind of tricky. The one that's supposed to look like a police car or a fire truck or something, that's easier because they're like you like kids know the siren of a car, of like of an emergency vehicle, so they can kind of mimic that. The bird song page is a little tricky because it's like, how do you choose which syllable you're going to use? And I usually say the line is blue, so let's use O first. But it sort of twitters around. We just then would make bird sounds if we can. Again, the alien making a new language page, this where they're kind of intertwined in different ways. So I say, what if I went wow, 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 like we try and push two different sounds together and see what we can do there. And then it looks like a gumball machine spitting out new colors. So you've now got orange, purple, and green. And I say, what sound could these be? So this is like going back to before, like when we put, squish the little squishy puffball, what sound could it make? It's the same thing. And since they've already done it, they can sort of imagine what it would sound like and come up with some cool ideas. Then we have a huge page with lots and lots and lots of different colors. It looks kind of like fireworks. We can make different sounds here, follow one of the lines. And the last page are tons and tons and tons of little dots, which we can explore there too. So I love this book because it starts out with one very, very simple thing. When I press this dot, you go, oh. oh, and then different ways you can do the oh, like 4 or 5 different ways. It's shivering, it's cold, it's large, it's small, it's getting bigger, it's getting smaller, it's long. It explores all these different things, and then it says, oh, you liked that? Great, I'm going to add a new sound, ah. So when you see a red one, it's ah, and then you can interact between the two sounds. Oh ah, they're talking back and forth. They're talking like robots. They're talking like dogs. They're arguing. How's that going to change the sound? Which is amazing for taking this idea and changing it just a little, when they're ready, then they add, up and down, high and low, long and short, all sorts of stuff. How would they interact in different ways? What would they do? Then you add a third sound, wahoo, wahoo. They try that, and then that even builds on that, and you can do more and more and more. So this is just, I think, like the coolest book for vocal exploration, and it pairs really well with the song that I did with the squirrel, because the squirrel, it like prompts them into how can you explore with this physical, tangible thing, which is so great for kids to like physically move something so that when they feel it go up, their voice can go up, and feel it go down, their voice can go down. And we do that with the little squishy ball, the little puff, which kind of looks like the dots in this book. We do that with the physical puff before we do something like this book where it's only a visual and they're not physically moving. So it starts out with the song about the squirrel going up and down the tree. It starts with the basset hound puppet howling. We add in the little squishy dots like the squirrels. We get to explore on our own together, and then we go through the book, and it builds from simple to complex. It's just so much fun to do all of that, and kids love it because they're being allowed to make these like silly, weird sounds. But like I'm guiding each one, like there's parameters for each one, so they know they're doing the right thing, but they're also exploring the sound, getting into higher and lower parts of their voice, maybe exploring higher than they normally would. And maybe for some kids that feels weird and wrong when they're up in their head voice or high or whatever. And this is neutral. It's easy. We're not singing up there. I'm not going, sing up here with me. I'm going like, woo, and it's just like silly. So they feel enabled and empowered to do that up high and be silly, and they're okay with that. And then we pull it all together, and I let them explore and do more with the book. Just like I said with our little puff, what other sounds could it make? What else could you do? And then we come up with new dots in the book where they can explore and try on their own. It's just so much fun, all in one lesson. It's really easy to do. You could do it any time in the year, but this time of year is great because you could talk about squirrels running around the yard. If you don't have the puppets, you don't need them. You don't need them. If you have something that's not exactly this puff ball, but similar, like you have little like yarn balls that you've made. You could even do it with like cotton balls. You could do it with little pom-poms, whatever. But there are a lot of things. I think though having that physical, tangible thing to move around is fun for them and helps solidify that connection kinesthetically between going high and your voice going high and going down, your voice going down. It really helps them sort of make that connection. Okay, all the things that I showed today, the finger puppet and the puff balls and the book, they're all on the links page if you're interested in checking them out or seeing where the book's published or whatever. They're all there. You can go check it out. And if you have questions, of course, send me an email, send me a message through Facebook or whatever. I'd love to try and answer that. But I hope this gave you guys some ideas for vocal exploration, how you can make it work in your classroom, just some like different ways that you can make it work in your classroom. So I hope this gave you some ideas. And I will see you again next Monday for another Musical Mondays video. Have a great night, everyone.